When it comes to trucks in cinema, the 1950s Peterbilt 281 revolutionized the screen forever. Most movie villains wear a mask, wield a weapon, or have a face you'll never forget. But in 1971, a machine changed cinema forever. It didn't speak, it didn't feel, and yet, it hunted. The Peterbilt 281 from Duel wasn't just a truck, and when it was a predator on wheels, a metal monster fueled by diesel, rage, and something far more unsettling than logic. A presence so terrifying, it redefined what a villain could be. And what you saw on screen was only half the story. Because behind the cameras, hidden beneath layers of rust, oil, and myth, lies a collection of secrets that transformed this truck into a legend. From design choices meant to hijack your subconscious, to real-life stories that will change the way you watch the film forever. Stay with me until the very end, because curious fact number 1 will make you look at the Duel truck in a way you never have before. These are the top 22 most terrifying and fascinating facts about the truck from Duel. Let's start with number 22. Curious fact number 22. What color was the Peterbilt 281 from Duel? Really? Most people remember the Duel truck as brown, or maybe dark gray, or even black. But here's the unsettling truth. The truck never had a real color at all. The Peterbilt 281 was intentionally painted using multiple layers. A base primer red, washed with dusty grays, sickly browns, and rust tones, to create a disturbing, decaying appearance. The goal wasn't to make the truck look old, it was to make it look corroded by time, heat, and something almost sinister. Under the harsh desert sun, the truck's color shifted like the skin of a dying creature, never the same shade twice. From one angle, it looked burned. From another, infected with rust. And sometimes, almost alive. Spielberg didn't want a truck with a paint job, he wanted a nightmare on wheels, a machine you couldn't quite define, but couldn't stop staring at, and that's why no fan can ever agree on the color of the Duel truck. Because it wasn't meant to have one. Curious fact number 21, 1955 or 1957. The Peterbilt 281 Identity Mystery. When fans try to uncover the true identity of the Duel truck, they stumble into a strange riddle that has puzzled enthusiasts for decades. Was the Peterbilt 281 from Duel actually a 1955 or a 1957? On paper, it should be simple. But the truck used in the film was a Frankenstein-like mix of parts, repairs, and swapped components collected over its working life. Some registration records point to 1955, yet key mechanical elements, the cab structure, and updated fittings match the 1957 production line. It's as if the truck itself refused to belong to a single year, adding to the unsettling aura that it wasn't just old, but ageless, worn by thousands of miles, fueled by fumes, rage, and the sun-scorched roads of the American West. The confusion isn't an accident, it's part of what makes the Duel Peterbilt so haunting. Even its origin is clouded, uncertain, and shrouded in contradiction. A truck with no clear identity is the perfect villain for a story where nothing feels safe or certain. Curious fact number 20. The Peterbilt 281 used a fake axle to look more menacing. At first glance, the Duel truck looked impossibly massive, heavier, longer, and somehow more threatening than any rig on the highway. But what if that terrifying presence was partly an illusion? The Peterbilt 281 used in the film had an extra axle, a dummy edition that didn't even connect to the drivetrain. It wasn't there for performance, it was there for psychology. Spielberg and his crew wanted the truck to feel predatory, almost like a living beast with more limbs than it should have. The fake axle threw off the proportions just enough to make the truck look unnatural, too long to be comfortable, too heavy to be real, and too powerful to be stopped. Under the desert light, it looked like an armored creature crawling out of the asphalt. It's one of those subtle details that most viewers never notice. But it's exactly what made the Peterbilt 281 appear less like a vehicle and more like a mechanical predator. Curious fact number 19, a 13-speed gearbox. Only a true road beast could tame. Driving the Duel. Peterbilt 281 wasn't just a job, it was a battle of strength, timing, and sheer nerve. This truck was armed with a 13-speed manual gearbox, the kind that separates everyday drivers from the hardened kings of the highway. Unlike modern trucks with synchronized transmissions, this gearbox demanded double clutching, precise RPM control, and razor-sharp focus. Miss a shift by a fraction, and the gears would grind like metal teeth snarling in anger. To keep the Peterbilt moving, especially on desert grades, the driver had to dance between gears with the skill of a seasoned road warrior. Behind the wheel, every shift felt like taming a mechanical animal that resisted being controlled. The complexity of the gearbox added to the illusion that the truck wasn't just chasing its victim. It was being guided by someone, or something, who knew how to unleash its full fury. Most drivers would struggle to keep a rig like this under control. In Duel, that difficulty became part of the terror. This wasn't a truck anyone could escape from, or command. Curious fact number 18, the Duel Peterbilt 281 wasn't nearly as fast as it looked. On screen, the Peterbilt 281 feels unstoppable. A highway predator that closes in no matter how hard the hero pushes the gas. But here's the twist. In real life, the truck wasn't fast at all. The Peterbilt was a heavy, aging rig with a limited top speed, especially when hauling a tanker. Under normal conditions, a car should have easily outrun it, and disappeared over the horizon. Yet that's where Spielberg's genius came in. He used camera angles, low framing, and sound design to make the truck feel like it was always right there, breathing down the protagonist's neck. The terrifying part wasn't its speed, it was its relentless approach. The kind that creeps into your rearview mirror and refuses to shrink no matter how far you run. A slow predator is often scarier than a fast one, because if something that shouldn't catch you still does, you start to wonder if it's fueled by diesel or something far darker. Curious fact number 17, how Spielberg created the illusion of speed. The Duel truck didn't need to be fast in reality. Spielberg just needed the audience to feel like it was, and he used some clever filmmaking tricks to turn a slow, heavy Peterbilt into a high-speed nightmare. To sell the illusion, Spielberg shot the truck with low-angle camera placements, sometimes inches from the asphalt. This made the ground blur and the wheels tower like a charging beast. He also used long lenses to compress distance, making the truck appear much closer to its target than it really was, as if it were always on the verge of impact. At times, the footage was captured with the cameras undercranked, meaning recorded at a slightly lower frame rate, so that when played back, the movement looked unnaturally fast and aggressive. Even the sound mix, that roaring engine, the snarling gears, was designed to trigger a primal fear response. The genius wasn't in making the truck actually fast, but in making the audience feel trapped with a predator that shouldn't catch you, yet somehow always does. Because in Duel, speed wasn't measured in miles per hour, it was measured in panic. Curious fact number 16. The truck's face was designed to look evil. One of the most unsettling things about the Duel Peterbilt 281 is that audiences don't just remember it as a truck, they remember it as a villain with a face. And that was no accident. Spielberg wanted the truck to feel like it was watching its prey, not just chasing it. To achieve this, the production team modified the front of the Peterbilt to resemble a menacing expression. The headlights were positioned like predatory eyes, the massive grille became a set of metal teeth, and the bumper jutted forward like a jaw ready to strike. The result was subtle, but your brain still registers it. Humans are wired to see faces, especially threatening ones, even on machines. And once you see the truck's face, you can't unsee it. It stops being a vehicle and becomes a character, a hunter. That cold stare on the highway wasn't just intimidating, it felt personal. The Duel truck didn't need emotion to terrify you. It only needed a face and the intention behind it. Curious fact number 15. A truck that aged as the story unfolded. If you watch Duel closely, you'll notice something eerie. The Peterbilt 281 doesn't look the same from start to finish. It doesn't just get dirtier, it ages, scene by scene, like a living creature wearing down as the hunt intensifies. This wasn't an accident or a continuity error. The production team intentionally added layers of grime, oil, dust, and sunburned wear throughout filming to make the truck appear as if the road itself was corroding it. The more obsessed and relentless the chase became, the more weathered and tortured the truck looked, almost as if the pursuit was consuming it from the outside in. It created a subtle psychological effect. The Peterbilt didn't feel like a static machine, but like a predator exhausting every ounce of strength to claim its prey. By the end, the truck seemed ancient, exhausted, and enraged, a beast driven beyond its limits. It wasn't just chasing a man, it was falling apart to destroy him. Curious fact number 14. The truck kept changing, and viewers didn't notice. There's a subtle, almost subliminal reason the Duel truck feels unsettling, even when it's not moving. If you look closely, the Peterbilt 281 doesn't stay perfectly consistent from shot to shot. Small details shift, the grime patterns change, dents appear and disappear, oil streaks move, and even the level of rust seems to evolve. On the surface, this could be dismissed as continuity. But here's where it gets interesting. Those inconsistencies make the truck feel unpredictable, as if it exists slightly outside reality, like a nightmare that changes shape each time that you turn back to look at it. Viewers don't consciously notice the differences, but the brain registers that something is off, increasing the sense of unease. Whether intentional or a byproduct of using multiple trucks, the effect is the same. The Peterbilt 281 feels unstable, almost shifting its form the closer it gets to its victim. It's as if the truck wasn't bound to the physical rules of the world, but to the fear of the man it was hunting. Curious fact number 13. The license plates were displayed like hunting trophies. One of the most chilling details on the Duel truck isn't its size or its roar, but something far smaller, bolted to its front bumper, the license plates. If you look closely, the Peterbilt 281 carries multiple plates from different states. To most viewers, it blends into the rust and grime. But once you notice them, the meaning hits hard. They look less like registration tag and more like trophies taken from past victims. The implication is subtle but sinister. This wasn't the first time the truck hunted someone down these lonely highways. Each plate hints at another story, another chase, another driver who didn't make it out. It transforms the truck from a random threat into something far scarier, a serial predator of the open road, collecting souvenirs as proof of its conquests. The plates aren't a decoration, they're a warning, and a promise of what happens to anyone who crosses its path. Curious fact number 12, the driver with no face. In Duel, we're told the truck has a driver, but the film goes out of its way to ensure we never truly see him. You catch glimpses, a boot stepping down, a hand on a gear shift, the silhouette of an arm through a dusty window, but never a clear face. It's as if the man behind the wheel is less a person and more an extension of the machine itself. This wasn't just a stylistic choice. Spielberg understood that the unknown is always more terrifying. By denying the driver a face, he stripped away humanity, identity, and motive. The audience is left with a disturbing possibility. Is the truck being driven, or is it driving itself? The faceless driver creates a psychological trap. Your mind fills the void with your own fears, the kind of villain you find most unsettling. The result is a predator that feels supernatural, soulless, and unstoppable. No face means no empathy, no expression means no weakness. And when you can't picture the enemy, you can't imagine defeating it. Curious fact number 11, the Peterbilt's engine didn't just run, it roared. Long before the Duel truck appears on screen, you hear it, a deep guttural growl that feels less like an engine and more like an animal clearing its throat before the attack. That sound wasn't accidental. It was engineered to unsettle. The Peterbilt's diesel engine was recorded, enhanced, and mixed to emphasize every metallic rattle, every choke of exhaust, every snarling gear shift. Instead of smoothing the noise, the sound designers amplified the imperfections, the grinding, the clanking, the mechanical rage, until the truck's presence could be felt through speakers. At times, the audio mix made the engine sound almost alive, like a predator breathing, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The truck didn't need a musical theme, a villain soundtrack, or a single line of dialogue. Its voice was the engine, and it spoke pure aggression. It was a sound that made audiences tense up before the truck even entered frame, because when you heard that roar behind you, you knew you were already being hunted. Curious fact number 10, the Duel truck was always one breakdown away from dying. On screen, the Peterbilt 281 feels unstoppable, a juggernaut that refuses to quit. But behind the scenes, the reality was far less invincible. The truck was constantly on the verge of mechanical collapse. The Peterbilt used for filming was old, overworked, and pushed beyond what it was designed to endure. The brutal desert heat, high-speed runs, and repeated takes put enormous strain on the engine, transmission, brakes, and suspension. Crew members often worried the truck wouldn't survive the next scene. Sometimes it barely made it back to its mark. Parts overheated, hoses leaked, gears slipped, and metal groaned under the stress of performing as a cinematic villain. At times, keeping the truck running felt like a race against time, or a battle of wills. And yet, the more worn out and damaged it became, the more terrifying it looked on camera. The danger wasn't acting, it was real. It's ironic. The very machine meant to symbolize unstoppable terror was almost falling apart with every mile it chased its victim. Curious fact number 9, the Caterpillar engine became a real headache on set. The Peterbilt 281 may have looked like a highway monster on screen, but under the hood, its Caterpillar diesel engine was far from the unstoppable beast audiences imagined. In fact, it caused constant trouble during filming. The intense heat of the California desert pushed the engine to its limits. It overheated, strained on climbs, and sometimes struggled to stay running long enough to finish a scene. Crew members often had to stop filming just to let the engine cool down, a moment that killed the tension on set, but ironically added to the truck's worn, tortured look on camera. The Caterpillar engine wasn't built for repeated high-stress takes or aggressive chase shots, yet here it was, expected to perform like a relentless killer machine, while barely holding itself together behind the scenes. It's almost poetic. The engine that powered one of cinema's most terrifying, unstoppable villains was itself quite stoppable. But maybe that fragility is what made the truck even scarier, because something that looks ready to explode at any moment feels unpredictable and dangerously alive. Curious fact number 8, the Duel truck wasn't one Peterbilt. It was several. Most viewers walk away from Duel convinced they witnessed the reign of a single, unstoppable Peterbilt 281. But here's the twist. There wasn't just one truck, there were multiple. To keep the intense chase scenes consistent and avoid production delays, the crew used more than one Peterbilt during filming. Each was set up to perform different tasks, some for close-up intimidation shots, others for dangerous stunts or long road sequences. Yet the most impressive part, they were dressed, aged, and dirtied with such precision that audiences couldn't tell them apart. Each truck had to match the same scars, rust patterns, and menacing personality, as if they were all fragments of the same mechanical monster. This illusion created a chilling effect. No matter how violent a scene got, no matter how risky the stunt, the truck always came back looking just as hungry as before. It made the Peterbilt feel invincible, almost supernatural, like a predator that couldn't be damaged, couldn't be escaped, and certainly couldn't be killed. Curious fact number 7, extra Peterbilts were brought in just for the theatrical cut. When Duel first aired, it wasn't on the big screen. It was a TV movie. But when Universal decided to release it theatrically, Spielberg had a problem. The film needed more footage to reach cinema runtime. The solution? Bring in another Peterbilt, Amati or two, and shoot additional scenes exclusively for the theatrical version. These extra trucks had to be modified to match the original villain as closely as possible, keeping the same rust patterns, dirt, and evil face that viewers had already burned into their memory. But here's where it gets intriguing. Even with careful matching, these extra Peterbilts carried subtle differences, giving the truck a slightly altered presence in some scenes. Most audiences never noticed, but subconsciously those tiny changes added to the uneasy feeling that the truck was never quite the same whenever it reappeared. It reinforced the eerie idea that the Peterbilt wasn't a single machine. but a manifestation of something darker that kept coming back in any form it needed. Curious fact number 6, the Peterbilt had a real past. It once hauled for Union Oil. Long before it terrorized audiences on screen, the Duel Peterbilt 281 lived a very different life, hauling fuel for Union Oil. This wasn't a custom-built movie prop, it was a real working truck with thousands of miles of industrial history behind it. For years, the Peterbilt hauled combustible material across American highways, exposed to heat, fumes, corrosion, and relentless road wear. By the time Spielberg's team found it, the truck had already endured a rugged career, scarred, weathered, and aged in a way no art department could have artificially reproduced, and that's what made it perfect. The truck didn't just look like it had a past, it carried one, etched into its metal, its frame, and its lingering smell of diesel and road dust. There's something unsettling about knowing the Duel truck wasn't born for horror, it evolved into it. It wasn't a villain created for the film. It was a retired workhorse that, somewhere along the road, became something far more menacing. A machine designed to transport fuel that would later burn itself into cinematic history. Curious fact number 5, Spielberg held a truck. Casting before choosing the Peterbilt 281. Before a single mile of Duel was filmed, Steven Spielberg made an unusual decision. He held a casting session for trucks. Just like an actor auditioning for a role, multiple rigs were lined up, each brought forward to see if it had the right presence to become the film's villain. There were several contenders, bigger trucks, newer trucks, more polished trucks. But none of them had the soul Spielberg was looking for. Then the Peterbilt 281 rolled in, old, scarred, narrow, almost skeletal in shape, and Spielberg immediately felt something unsettling about it. It looked hungry, predatory, like it belonged to the road in a way the others didn't. The truck didn't just fit the role, it embodied it. Spielberg wasn't searching for a vehicle, he was searching for a character. And the moment he saw the 281, he knew. This was the face of the nightmare he wanted audiences to fear. What followed wasn't a truck being filmed, but a villain being unleashed. Curious fact number 4, they had only one chance to send the truck over the cliff. The most unforgettable moment in Duel is the final plunge, the Peterbilt 281 roaring toward the edge of a cliff before crashing into oblivion. But here's what most people don't realize. They had only one shot to get it right. There were no second takes, no backup trucks waiting off camera, no margin for error. Once that Peterbilt went over the cliff, it was gone forever. The entire crew held their breath as the cameras rolled, knowing that if anything went wrong, a bad angle, a missed cue, a technical failure, they would lose the climax of the film with no way to recreate it. To capture the moment with maximum impact, multiple cameras were placed around the cliff, hidden in rocks, bushes, and dug into the ground. When the truck finally hit the edge and plunged downward, what audiences saw wasn't just a stunt, it was a point of no return, for the truck and for the film. The crash wasn't just filmed, it was sacrificed, in one spectacular, irreversible take. And maybe that's why the final moment feels so raw, so violent, and so real, because it truly was the truck's last breaths. Curious fact number 3, one of the Duel trucks survived and was found years later. For decades, fans believed the Duel Peterbilt met its fate at the bottom of that cliff, destroyed forever in the film's explosive finale. But that wasn't the end of the story. Not all the trucks used in Duel were sacrificed. At least one survived, quietly disappearing after production, slipping into ordinary work life far away from Hollywood. It hauled cargo, changed owners, and aged anonymously on American roads, until a dedicated fan and collector traced its origin and confirmed its identity years later. Imagine stumbling upon a rusting old rig on a property lot, only to discover it was the nightmare truck that haunted a generation of viewers. To the untrained eye, it was just an abandoned machine. But to those who knew what they were looking at, it was a relic of cinematic horror, a monster in hibernation. The survivor was eventually restored, preserved, and given the respect of a screen-used icon. Some say standing next to it feels unsettling, like the truck is merely resting, waiting for an engine to spark back to life. Because legends don't die. Sometimes they just go off the road for a while. Curious fact number 2. The cliff location became an obsession and remains a mystery. The cliff where the Duel truck meets its dramatic end has become something of a pilgrimage site for fans, a place where the monster finally fell. But here's the eerie part. Its exact location has been debated for years. Maps, rumors, behind-the-scenes notes, and fan investigations have all pointed to different spots across California's rugged terrain. Some claim it was filmed along Soledad Canyon, others insist on a remote section of the Angeles National Forest. The area has changed so much over the decades, roads rerouted, landscapes reshaped, that even people who worked on the film disagree on the precise cliff. This uncertainty has only amplified the myth. Fans scour old film stills, satellite images, and production diaries trying to triangulate the exact place where the Peterbilt took its final plunge. For many, locating the cliff isn't just trivia, it's a quest. There's something poetic about it. The truck that seemed impossible to escape left a final mark in a place that's just as elusive. A legendary villain with a disappearing grave. Some say the land didn't want to remember where the monster fell. Others believe the cliff is still out there, waiting to be found. Curious fact number 1, the first mechanical villain in film history. Before Duel, movie monsters had faces, claws, fangs, masks, something human or creature-like to fear. But in 1971, a truck changed everything. The Peterbilt 2-8-1 didn't speak, didn't growl words, didn't have a backstory or a motive audiences could point to, yet it struck fear deeper than many horror villains that came before it. Because the terror didn't come from what it said, but from what it was. For the first time in cinema, a machine, cold, towering, relentless, became the central villain of a story. Not a possessed car, not a supernatural creature in disguise, just a truck. Stripped of humanity, stripped of reason, and driven by pure, unstoppable intent. This was the birth of a new kind of evil on screen, the mechanical predator. From Duel, a lineage was born, inspiring films like Christine, Maximum Overdrive, Joyride, and every road horror nightmare where the vehicle is the threat, not the escape. The Peterbilt didn't just chase a man down a desert highway, it paved a new path for an entire genre. The first true mechanical villain in cinema wasn't a machine that came to life, it was a machine that made us fear the possibility that it could. And that is why the Duel truck didn't just make history, it rewrote it. And there you have it, the story behind the Duel Peterbilt 2-8-1, a truck that wasn't just built to haul fuel, but to make history. Decades later, its roar still echoes through movie culture as the first true mechanical villain ever put on film. If this video made you see the Duel truck in a whole new light, hit that like button. It really helps bring more stories like this to life. Tell me in the comments which fact surprised you the most, or if you dare face that Peterbilt on an empty highway. And if you love uncovering the darker, hidden corners of cinema, subscribe because there's a lot more metal, mystery, and myth waiting just around the bend. Keep your mirrors clear and your engines running. Until next time.